Yo, what's up, y'all? It's the MMA Analyst back at it again. I'm going to be real honest with you. I just did a video for the UFC 90, and something happened with my computer. I don't even know. All I know is I'm not doing it again. Not all that work. So I'm just going to give you my quick picks, let you know real quick what I think about it, and bounce the hell off here, cause that hurt. That hurt bad. If anybody can send me a band-aid for the wound that has formed, send it to my YouTube inbox. Just a band-aid. Just say band-aid for wound, and I will heal that, cause I'm hurt. So let's just do it real quick. Anderson Silva versus Patrick Cote. I'm not going to be giving any stats or anything. I'm sorry, y'all. Anderson Silva, he's a beast. He's a dog. He's fighting Patrick Cote. Patrick Cote has a puncher's chance and a fighter's chance, because any fighter can win any given match. However, what will likely happen is Anderson Silva will outstrike Patrick Cote. The fight will not go to the ground. They will stand. They will battle. Patrick Cote will, unfortunately, for all of his friends, family, and the Canadians that may be rooting for him, will come up short. Anderson Silva will defend his middleweight belt in impressive form. I think it will not be a quick destruction, but rather maybe 4 to 5 minutes of beatdown until he finally decides. And I literally think it will be a decision to just end the fight. I really think actually it'll be a second round victory. I think Patrick Cote is just going to take a tremendous beatdown before Anderson Silva decides to just shut out the lights. All right, Thiago Alves versus Koscheck. Another great fight. I think this fight is better than Thiago Alves versus Diego Sanchez. That fight would have been easier to predict. I would have said straight up. I mean, would have been a little harder because I wasn't exactly sure, if Sanchez would be able to, to impose his will on Alves and whatever. Koscheck will get the takedowns. I know Thiago Alves looked really good against Matt Hughes, but Matt Hughes isn't like Matt Hughes of the past. He's a little older, he's a lot slower, and he's definitely not the well-rounded fighter. And by that, I mean he's never been known for his hands, you know what I mean? Koscheck has went from being completely a wrestler to a guy with pretty good MMA boxing. He's very close to a very well-rounded fighter, and I see Koscheck being able to control this fight. I see him being able to take down Thiago Alves through multiple shoots or shots, and I think he'll be able to control him on the ground, keep him there. I don't think he can finish the fight, though. I think it will be 15 minutes of Josh Koscheck attempting, sometimes getting stuffed, but in the end, completing successful takedowns and winning by unanimous decision. Next fight, Fabricio Verdun versus Junior Dos Santos. Dos Santos is a dude out of Brazil. He's got more of his fights coming by knockout. I'm not sure exactly what's going on here. I know Fabricio Verdun has, in his contract, it says that he is entitled to a title shot. So what I think maybe they're doing is they're giving him a guy. They're saying, here, beat this guy real quick. And in the meantime, Nogueira is going to fight Mir. Lesnar is going to fight Couture. Those winners are going to fight each other. And then I think whoever wins that is going to fight Fabricio Verdun somewhere maybe next July or something like that. Who knows? Fabricio Verdun, obviously we know who the dude is. Very good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He beat Gabriel Gonzaga recently, and he also beat him before, 5-6 years ago. And then he beat Brandon Vera. Fabricio Verdun will take this win. First round, second round submission for Verdun. Sherk versus Tyson Griffin. Awesome fight. This is kind of like Tyson Griffin versus the stronger, more compact workhorse Tyson Griffin. It's like T1 versus T2. Unfortunately for Griffin, I think that Sherk is the T2. Um, Tyson Griffin is excellent wrestling, very strong, very good on the ground. He's got experience. He's got a ton of wins. And then you've got Sherk, who has everything Tyson Griffin has times two. He's got like 32 wins. I said I wasn't going to say stats, but he's only lost to Matt Hughes when he was at welterweight, George St. Pierre at welterweight, and then BJ Penn. So two of the four greatest pound for pound fighters in the world, and then the greatest middleweight or welterweight champion of all time. So there's no shame in losing to those three guys. I think Sherk will be able to give Tyson Griffin a little bit of his own medicine, and I think it'll be a Sherk decision via unanimous one. And then Gray Maynard versus Rich Clementi. Rich No Love Clementi, a million fights. Like, honestly, 45 fights. He's got 14 submissions and 10 knockouts. Like, he's got 2 times as many knockouts as Gray Maynard has professional fights. He's got almost 3 times as many submissions as Gray Maynard has professional fights. Tons of experience. Gray Maynard, 5-0, coming off a very impressive win. Let me see real quick who that was against. I forget. Yes, over Frank Edgar, who was on his way to a title shot for sure until the Gray Maynard train came through. Tough fight for both guys. Clementi's good on his feet. He's good on the ground. Gray Maynard's strong. He's young. He's competitive. He's moving up the ladder. What do I think is going to happen? Wow, this one's tough. I gotta go Gray Maynard, and I don't think he'll be able to finish the fight, as he hasn't been able to in the past. But more importantly, I don't think Rich Clementi is going to be able to finish the fight. If I could figure Rich Clementi catching him in a submission or knocking him out, then I would pick Rich Clementi. But I don't see that happening. And since I don't see that happening, I see Gray Maynard winning this by decision. Because Rich Clementi, really, he doesn't win by decision. He's got a ton of fights, and very few of them go to decision. And I see him losing by decision. All right, preliminary card, Thales Leitis versus Drew McFedries. Drew McFedries, tough guy. He's got a crazy knockout punch ability and zero ground game. None. Zero. Years of fighting and no ground game. I don't know what he's thinking. I don't know what his crew's thinking. Whoa. Thales Leitis, tough guy. Fought... Man, he was getting pile drived and everything. Nathan Marquardt, pile driven into the ground, knee down when his in the face when his knee was down, hitting the back of the head, whether it was close or not, whatever. He won the fight because of 2 points being taken off. We know he's a tough guy. He's got most of his wins by submission. If you ever have a guy who can submit somebody fighting Drew McFedries, he will submit Drew McFedries. Thales Leitis by first round submission, under 2 minutes of Drew McFedries. Spencer Fisher versus Shannon Gergety. Spencer Fisher, tough guy. He's in that lightweight situation along with Tyson Griffin and Gray Maynard. It's just where there's a whole bunch of tough guys, and they're all trying to get to the top, where it's kind of like, I said this before, it's like BJ Penn, and then under him is Sherk, but they're like together. And then below them, there's like 15 guys, and they're all trying to get up there. Spencer Fisher is one of those guys. Shannon Gergety is not. Spencer Fisher, I think, gets the win here quite easily. I'm going to say unanimous decision. Matt Horwick versus Dan Miller. Funny situation. Well, not really funny, but Matt Horwick, He was the IFL champion. He lost his title to Ryan McGivern, and then Dan Miller beat Ryan McGivern, and then would be the reigning IFL middleweight champion. But it's over. The IFL is dead. So now you've got, excuse me, the last two middleweight champions fighting each other in the UFC. That's funny. Horwick has all the experience. Miller has, I think he's undefeated. Take a quick look. He's got one loss. He's got 9 wins. It's going to be a submission fight. It's going to be fought on the ground. I don't think, however, MMA math is going to work here. You know what? I'm going to go with it. Not because I'm going with MMA math. He beat him and he beat him, therefore he'll beat him. But even though Matt Horwick has tons and tons of experience and Dan Miller is relatively new in comparison to Matt Horwick, I'm going to go with Dan Miller winning his second fight in the UFC and being 2-0 in the UFC. Up next, Hermes Franca versus Marcus Aurelio. Hermes Franca has to win. He's got 2 losses in a row. His last loss was to Gray Maynard? His last loss was to Frank Edgar. His loss before that was the Roids. He lost anyways, and then he extra lost because he got caught for Roids against Sean Sherk. Good fighter, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu guy, very skilled, but things aren't going his way. And Marcus Aurelio's pretty much in the same boat. He lost to Tyson Griffin. He beat 2 guys that were not really on his level. And then before that, he's got 3 losses in a row, 2 in Pride, 1 to Takanori Gomi, which was a rematch from when he already beat Takanori Gomi. 1 to Ishida. And then a loss to Clay Guida in the UFC. Both these guys need a win. This would be a nice guy for each of them to beat. If Hermes Franca beats Aurelio, it means a lot. If Aurelio beats Hermes Franca, it means a lot. This fight is another one that's going to be fought on the ground. This is not going to be a stand-up battle. It's going to be a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, basically a test. But I don't think it's going to be all about Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I think it's going to be about not just submission, but position. It's going to be who can control the fight and who can stay on top and at least appear to be the victor. And I think Marcus Aurelio will end up on his back. I don't think he'll get the submission. It's very hard to win UFC bouts while on your back. Hermes Franca will be in Marcus Aurelio's guard for most of this fight. I believe he will get what might be a boring, unanimous decision for Hermes Franca. And then you've got Josh Bergman versus Pete Sell, who I consider to be one of the wonders of the world. Pete Sell is 1-4 in the UFC. His last 3 fights in the UFCs have all been losses. He has 1 win outside of the UFC. And then, so he basically lost in the UFC to Nate Quarry, kicked out of the UFC, came back to the UFC, and lost his 3 last fights. And now he's fighting again. He does have a UFC win against Phil Baroni in his debut when he was 6-0 back in 2005. But what does that mean? He'll be fighting Josh Bergman. Josh Bergman, he's got 2 losses in a row. One of them was one of the submissions of the year to Dustin Hazlitt. Let's just make this quick. Josh Bergman will defeat, in my opinion, Pete Sell. UFC 90, a lot of big fighters on the card. Like, maybe not like, they're not all Anderson Silvas. And maybe if it was like Anderson Silva versus, a big name, then this would be a crazy, crazy card. But you've got Thiago Alves versus Koscheck. That's a solid, solid match. You've got Sean Sherk versus Tyson Griffin. Solid match. Hermes Franca versus Marcus Aurelio. That's a solid match. That's like buried in the undercard. Talis Lidas versus Drew McFedries. Definitely there's going to be a nice finish in there somewhere. Fabricio Verdum, definitely on his way to a title shot. He has been his entire UFC career. I think they said if you beat Gonzaga, you'll get a title shot. He beat Gonzaga, didn't get it. If you beat Vera, you'll get a title shot. beat Brandon Vera, didn't get it, and now he put it in his damn contract. So if he beats Junior Dos Santos, he's getting his title shot. Gray Maynard versus Rich Clemente, big stuff for Gray Maynard. If he can pull off a win here, then he'll be moving, up the ranks at lightweight with just 6 fights or whatever. I'm very excited for this fight. Of course, anytime you get to see Anderson Silva fight, that's a bonus. Especially since he's talking about retiring. I don't want to see that. Don't do it. Not yet. Damn, dog. You are not even 35. Do not retire. In case y'all don't know, he's talking about retiring in 2009. He says he's going to retire. After that, he's done. Don't do it, dude. Don't do it, dude. Don't do it. All right. I'll be back for the recap of UFC 90. UFC 91's coming up. Couture versus Lesnar, which is a crazy main event. The rest of the card, not so much, but a crazy main event. And then there's, I think on November 10th, there's an Elite XC with Eddie Alvarez versus Nick Diaz. I'm almost sure that Nick Diaz is becoming one of my favorite fighters just because of how crazy he is and his hands and his submission ability. I'm not saying he's one of the best fighters in the world, but he's up there as one of my favorite fighters, at least to watch. He's one of my favorite fighters. Alvarez versus Diaz right now in my brain is looking like potential fight of the year because Alvarez is going to be throwing bombs and Diaz is going to be throwing pillows, but I don't think it's going to be a quick knockout, so it's going to just be dudes brawling crazy. Hopefully it'll look like Gomi versus Diaz. Anyways, and then there's Sengoku 6 on November 1st. So I got to get that one done. It's a busy time. It's a tough time. This is just a few hours after the UFC 89 review. Switched up the background, changed the shirt just for video recognizability or whatever, recognition. But it's all, for one cause, y'all. And you know what it is. MMA, y'all. It's important. It's important, y'all. Peace.